Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. In the last episode, I mentioned that I was virtually tapped out of cash money and my money was tied up in land that I'd bought and selling it was not as easy as projected. And all the fights and changes that had to be made to the capsule had gone way over budget. This meant that, literally I was running out of cash. But the Eurocap deal was still moving ahead. After some tense negotiating, we came up with a solution. Eurocaps would pay Cafe Caps a monthly royalty of 25,000 euros a month. In exchange, Cafe Caps would stay out of the European market. It was the best deal I could get at the time, 25,000 a month or 300,000 a year in earned revenue, and not a single capsule had to be produced on our side. To be fair to my Dutch friends, who were also just a startup and betting heavily on me, and 25,000 a month was not going to be easy for them either, as they were also going to have to invest millions to get Eurocaps off the ground. Anyway, from my side of things, it sounded great. This wasn't free money. I still had obligations, supporting with technical challenges, making adjustments, and helping solve problems. One of those problems was about to become the now infamous Bueller grinder, and I'll get into that in a minute. But here's where it got a little bit unfair. Abi, my partner, was a 50% shareholder in Cafe Caps. So this meant he received 50% of the 25,000 per month, while also benefiting from Eurocaps. To me, it felt a little bit like double dipping. And once again, I felt like I'd been taken advantage of. But the paperwork was signed, the deal was done, and enough whining about partners for now. So let's talk about this Bueller grinder. As I mentioned, we saw it at the Vienna trade show, and we were all impressed. It looked like a serious bit of equipment. We needed a grinder. The 2 filling machines that we had bought were on the way, and the preferred grinder supplier, MPE in Chicago, could not deliver a unit on time. So we bought it, like I said, at the trade show. Bam, boom, done. Let me tell you about how roller grinders work. Quick tech breakdown. These industrial grinders are designed for extreme consistency in coffee particle size. And they operate in 3 stages, and we need 3 stages. Stage 1 cracks open the roasted beans without fines. Stage 2 reduces them even further to a coarse, uniform grind. And stage 3 is the precision crushing them to a target micron size. And the idea is to create a very even grind with minimal fines. Now, fines are those tiny particles that can block the capsule during brewing. After grinding, the coffee goes into a densifier, basically a chamber where the coffee is tumbled and compacted. This helps round off the jagged edges and form a uniform, slightly compacted granules. Because an espresso capsule holds only about 14 mils of volume, we need to maximize the amount of coffee we can pack inside if we want to be able to match the Nespresso original quality. This is extremely important, as our business model was to be able to offer supermarkets their own private label coffee capsules that are expected to work with the original equipment and give the same taste and mouthfeel that the Nespresso consumers had become used to, all for a reasonable price and the convenience of being able to pick up a pack while doing your normal grocery shopping. So, in other words, if you don't have this type of grinding setup, then you simply just can't fit the right amount of coffee in the capsule. And if you can imagine 5 grams of coffee, and then even a 5.5 grams of coffee is a 10% difference. One of those cases where just what seems like a little difference actually makes a big difference. But getting back to the problem with the Bueller grinder. These grinders are also meant to run non-stop. Consistent input equals consistent output. But we had the 2 filling lines, the Optima and the TME. And the combined consumption was, let's say, around 330 kilos of coffee an hour. And this grinder was able to produce around 500 kilos an hour. So the grinder's output capacity was way beyond what we could use in real. So effectively what happened, the grinder had to keep starting and stopping. And that's when the grind becomes inconsistent. Suddenly, our capsule flow rates were all over the place. Brewing times became erratic and product performance dropped. It was chaos. We called Bueller. We told them about the problem. And their response, quite frankly, they didn't care. They didn't want to hear about it. In the end, we had to sell the grinder back to them and took a substantial loss. That, unfortunately, was the first major financial hit for Eurocap, still just a small fledgling startup company. When I started thinking about this business, I thought, how hard can it be to fill coffee into a little plastic capsule pod? Let me tell you, it's extremely difficult. Every part of the process matters, from the grinding, then the filling and compacting. Yes, the auger doses are also very important, as they effectively compress the coffee into and they shouldn't also make any fines while doing it. And by this, I mean that the precision of the fit of the auger screw into the barrel needs to be very precise, or you risk having the augers making superfine particles in the last step while filling the capsule. Then there's the rim cleaning and the sealing, also very crucial. If you have coffee particles on the rim, then this will compromise the seal and you will have a capsule that's not airtight. And when you get it wrong, you feel it in your product. And unfortunately, you feel it in your pocket. Because these filling lines are designed for high output, let's say 600 capsules a minute, our new lines are 1100 a minute. This means things can go wrong fast and you can produce a lot of defects very quickly. And the waste becomes enormous, as you can imagine. You lose the coffee, the capsule, the lidding. And that's why we have to continually monitor the quality of the production. Because in even just 15 minutes of production, there's been between 9 to 10,000 capsules produced on a 600-minute line. So losses can mount up fast if you're not taking constant quality samples. Whoever says running a business is easy, especially a manufacturing business, is simply not being entirely truthful. That's all for this week on this topic. Next week episode is about the South African distributor. We'll get to that next week. See you then. And don't forget, please subscribe. Thank you.